Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit, Am I the A-hole? This one's from user throwaway AITA here. Would I be the a-hole if I outed my sister so my parents won't hate my fiancé? I, 27 male, live with my 27 female fiancé, Annie. And recently, my sister, Mia, came to live with us. Mia has never actually told me she was a lesbian, but I've always kind of known she was. Anyway, my parents asked if Mia could move in with us because she can't see her friends since they are high risk. I agreed, and Mia has been living with us. I've started to notice changes in her behavior around Annie. Mia has always been shy about her body and at most will wear knee-length shorts in a very hot day, even with family. Now, she's basically always in sports bras and booty shorts. It was odd, but I haven't lived with my parents in 6 years, so I don't know if she changed her home habits during the time I was gone. I just brushed it off as a self-esteem boost and was proud of her. Then she got especially close to Annie. I assumed it was just admiration, but then it got super weird. She was sticking even closer to Annie. And it wasn't like she was butting in on us when we were being romantic, but it was like she was trying to prevent romantic moments from happening by trying to direct Annie somewhere else. She would also leave the room or look sad when we kissed. I got the feeling she had a crush on Annie. I confronted her about her feelings and told her that it was fine if she had a crush, but she was taking it too far, and she denied it. Now, my sister knows I know she's a lesbian because a few years ago I sent her one of those "if ex-friend was ever more than a friend" texts. She denied that they were more than friends. I told her that I'll always be here to support her and moved on. Things would stop for a while, then pick up. We would have this conversation, then the cycle would repeat. Annie figured out that Mia probably had a crush on her and was uncomfortable by the entire situation. A few weeks ago, Annie kind of sister-zoned Mia and things just escalated. She openly flirted with Annie to the point where Annie didn't even want to be at home. We couldn't do anything romantic at home because she might see and start openly bawling in her room. Mia was very cold to me and always snapping at me for small reasons. I had enough when she made breakfast for Annie and her using the food I specifically bought for myself, and Annie walked out crying. I pulled her aside and told her that she needs to stop right now or I will kick her out. She acted like she didn't know what I was talking about again, so now I'm definitely kicking her out. The only problem is my parents. I can't just kick out my little sister and not tell them why. If I tell them the truth, my sister will be outed. But if I tell a half-truth like she made my fiancé uncomfortable, they'll hate my fiancé because I can't actually explain what my sister did to make her uncomfortable without outing her. My sister deserves a chance to come out. And this isn't like I accidentally outed her either. Is getting herself outed a consequence of her actions, or would I be the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. She2 says, if you out your sister, you're the a-hole. If you don't kick your sister out, you're the a-hole. You're not the a-hole if you throw your sister out, thereby making your home a safe place again for your fiancé, and don't out your sister to your parents. I suggest that you kick out your sister, and if your parents ask why, tell them that she repeatedly overstepped boundaries and you're done with her disrespect and melodrama. You don't have to give details. You're not a child and you can set boundaries with your parents too. OP responds, in any other case, not giving my family details would be fine, but she's supposed to move out in a month anyways, and by kicking her out, I'd be depriving her of seeing her friends. They are going to want to know why and if I don't say anything. Then I'd be hated or they'd assume it was my fiancé. My parents always assume the worst. I'd frankly rather out my sister than be hated or have my fiancé hated. I know that sounds a-holy, but I'm at a point where my sister is almost like a stranger to me, and I'd rather out a stranger than lose my family. Coulomb Man says, was ready to call you the a-hole, but I am going to have to say not the a-hole. Your sister isn't acting like a lesbian, she is acting like a sociopath. OP's edit. I'm just going to clarify why I can't say that the living arrangement wasn't working out. Like I said in the beginning, my parents are high risk, so she cannot see her friends at all. So if it just wasn't working out, they'd tell me to suck it up until the school year starts. If I don't, I'd be the heartless jerk who doesn't want to let my sister have a social life. Second, I don't think they'd believe me in the first place because I've never had a problem with my sister. They'd just assume I was covering for Annie. Well, OP, in my opinion, your sister's behavior is completely inappropriate, and your top priority should be that Annie has a safe place to live in because it's her home, and she's your fiancé, soon-to-be wife, so she will be your family, and the most important one at that. So just talk to your sister and say, hey, you need to cut this out or there's gonna be issues here, and you're gonna get kicked out and have to solve the issue by yourself. If you kick her out and your parents start asking questions, you need to tell them to talk to your sister about the boundaries she's crossed. That way, you're not outing her, but yeah, she has to carry the responsibility of everything that she's been doing to make your fiancé uncomfortable. But like I usually say, that's just my opinion. So let's continue with the update to see what actually happened. Some of you requested an update, however, the result wasn't the happiest. I got a lot of, you would not be the a-hole for kicking my sister out, but you would be the a-hole for outing my sister. I accepted it at that point and was going to have a talk with my parents without outing my sister and being specially vague. Then, to my surprise, there was a string of not the a-hole for both. The reason being my sister's behavior was a crime and needs to be addressed immediately. I decided to just talk with Annie, who ultimately was the victim, and asked her what she wanted to do. With the exception that there was no debating my sister getting the heck out. She said she wanted to tell my parents what happened because they deserved to know. I couldn't agree more. Not because, like some of you suggested, I wanted to out my sister for revenge, but because I think part of the blame is on them. Growing up, I was always the smart kid and she was always the social kid. My parents put my education over her events. She couldn't invite her friends over because I was studying. If she was invited to a friend's birthday and I had tutoring around the same time, she would either have to walk to her friend's house, be late, or not even go at all. At some point, they realized how this was affecting her and just let her do whatever she wanted. When I needed it to be quiet so I could study, they would just ship me off to my uncle's house. I didn't mind. My parents would let her do what she wanted, but they still gave me more attention. So yeah, like some of you suggested, my sister definitely needs therapy. So we talked to my parents after we kicked her out. We told them what Mia did, and I think my dad believed us, but my mom didn't. This part is now all just being relayed from my parents. They went to my sister, and to my surprise, she came clean to everything. She admitted what she did was wrong, but she just couldn't stop herself, and she was just so angry at me for getting all the attention all the time. I had all the good things, she didn't. Well, it ended up in a shouting match and they kicked her out. They kicked her out of their house, but they moved her into my aunt's. They gave her an ultimatum: either go to therapy or receive no financial support from them, with the condition that if she doesn't start therapy within the next 5 years, they will not be paying for her sessions. I think they should pay either way, but it's their money, so not my place to say anything. I haven't heard from my sister. She texted Annie to tell her she's sorry and asked her to meet up, but she hasn't reached out to me. I probably wouldn't have responded if she did though. I'll also be looking into getting therapy, even if I'm angry at my sister and never want to see her again. I also feel like I lost her. Yes, Mia was outed in the end, but I think that considering everything, this is the best outcome for her too. Thank you for all your responses. Well, OP, I don't agree. She shouldn't have been outed by anybody else but herself. Coming out is a big thing, and that's something that she should have owned. I don't know where you're from, so I don't know how important parents are in your culture. But I believe this is something that you should have sorted out with your sister without involving anyone else. But again, like I previously said, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think about this whole thing? This one's from user Daughter Dropout THR. Am I the a-hole for supporting my daughter's decision to drop out of college after she got engaged? My daughter, 22 female, recently announced her engagement to her boyfriend, 26 male, of 3 years. Not long after that, she called my wife and I to tell us she's dropping out of college. She basically told us that she wasn't too happy with her major, which, to be honest, I can't believe. She never came across as very enthusiastic about her studies like my other daughter, 25 female, was. Her new fiancé comes from quite a well-to-do family. His dad basically owns a semi-regional chain of do-it-yourself stores, and he's worked in various management positions since he graduated and is in line to inherit the company. My daughter and him have decided that since he basically has 100% job security and she wasn't too happy doing what she was doing, that it would be better for her to drop out and either get a position at the company or just stay at home. They haven't decided yet. I'm fine with this. My wife, not so much. She always wanted both our daughters to be career-minded in life like she's been. She also doesn't like the fact that we have financially supported our daughter through her time in college and she's not getting a degree now. My daughter basically told my wife that she's an adult woman now and has made her decision whether my wife likes it or not. I backed my daughter up. I told my wife she can't expect her to just be a mini-me and that the whole point of us helping her out financially was so she could be happy in life, which she's decided means taking a more traditional path. My wife is still angry a few days later, but I'm still standing up for her. Am I the a-hole? The judgment is no a-holes here. Now let's take a look at the top comments. AshesB77 says, no a-holes here. This is tough. Both sides are right. No future is ever safe. Companies go under all the time. Divorce happens. Your daughter is 22. How far away is she from finishing? If she doesn't have to work, maybe she could just slow down and finish at her own pace. I think she's likely come so far that it would be silly to stop so close, but you can't make her and she is an adult. You aren't wrong either to let this be a blow-up because ultimately you can't undo her decision. Along Strange Something says, no a-holes here. You're right that it's your daughter's decision. Neither you or your wife are a-holes based on your opinions. However, I think that your way of looking at things is short-sighted because marriages end and even great businesses can go belly up. Then what? She'll be unemployed and without a degree. Granted, she can always get some job, but probably not a job where she can support a lifestyle she'll become accustomed to. Just something for you guys to consider. SW Goodtoes says, you're the a-hole. Not for allowing your daughter to make her own adult decisions, but for not counseling her on all the serious lifelong risks of challenges of exiting the workforce at 22 to be completely financially dependent on a partner. This is something that could seriously bite her in the butt if something happens to him, or if something happens to his business or industry, or if they split up in 5 or 10 or 20 years. Lifelong alimony is not a thing anymore in most countries. Support for a disabled spouse or special needs child is incredibly expensive. This is not a wise decision, and while it's absolutely her mistake to make, you have a duty to counsel her on the reasons not to make it. I agree that there are no a-holes here because everybody's an adult and everybody has an opinion and it's all okay. The problem is that I don't think it is the right choice for OP's daughter to be doing what she's doing. She's 22, she's been in college for a while, just finish whatever it is, even if you never have to use it, it is something to fall back on in case anything happens, and anything can happen. And yes, even if she doesn't like it, of course it sucks that she's majoring in something that she learned she didn't like, right? Or else she wouldn't have chosen it. However, if she's close to the end, just get through it, get it done, get that paper, and then do whatever you want. Who knows? Now when she's 22, she might not have a passion for it, but in 10 or 15 years or maybe even 2 years, she could be asking questions like, okay, what can I do with my degree? And gets to doing something. Anything can happen, but if you don't have the tools, then you're restricted. And that's never good, because that diminishes freedom. But of course, that's just my opinion, and your daughter is entitled to do whatever she wants. She's an adult now. So now, let's move on to the update to see what happened after this. I just wanted to give a quick update. I had a think about what some of you commented about her not having a backup plan. I decided maybe it would be best to let my wife have a sit down with my daughter and her fiancé to explain her concerns. Don't worry, it was over Zoom. After discussing it the day after I made my original post, the following agreements were made. Her fiancé has some shares in the company his dad gifted him after he graduated. He will give 30% of these shares to her. He will get life insurance and my daughter will obviously be the beneficiary along with any kids they have. He will give my daughter a job in the company so that she can at least have some work experience and transferable skills. She has promised to work for at least 5 years or until the birth of her first kid, whatever comes sooner. After that, it's her call. Like many of you suspected in the comments, his dad does want him to get a prenup. He's agreed that my daughter will get the savings account and be allowed to keep her aforementioned shares from point 1. This young man was surprisingly cool and understanding of my wife's worries, and I'm even more confident in him than I was before. My wife is still disappointed she's not pursuing a career, but she has some peace of mind now and gives my daughter her support. I admit that I was guilty of making this worse by not communicating with my wife enough and being overly dismissive of her concerns. I am glad I posted it here. Well, I guess what they came up with is some sort of compromise to leave everybody at peace, but I gotta say, personally, I would have hoped the daughter would have said, okay, you know what, I'll stay in college for the 1 or 2 years that are remaining to have that degree. It doesn't hurt anybody, and it's just 1 or 2 years. It doesn't take your life away to get it done. But again, that is just my opinion, not a fact. In the end, like I said, they reached a compromise where everybody's happy and the daughter's gonna get to do whatever she wants. And we still have some time left, so I'm gonna squeeze in another post. This one's from user Cat's Crazy Life. Am I the a-hole for changing a dog's name? So, I took over care of a dog because the owners thought she was too hyper and didn't want her because they didn't know how to train her to not be hyper. So my friend suggested me because I am a dog lover and I'm good at training. They gave me the dog, like the dog is mine completely. They are never getting her back, especially because, in my opinion, they were abusing her, but that's a completely different story. I tried calling the dog by the name they had given it, Peanut. I tried for 3 days to get her to respond to it. I couldn't get so much as an ear twitch, she just wouldn't respond. So I tried calling her Honey. She instantly responded if I called her Honey. And when asked to sit, she would do it right away. If I called her from across the house calling her Honey, she would come running. My friend who arranged for me to get the dog is saying that I shouldn't just change her name and that she's had that name for 3 years. As well as saying it's disrespectful to change the dog's name. I'm just at a loss for if I'm being unreasonable. I also asked that my friend please use the name Honey when referring to my dog because that's her name now. So, am I the one being an a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Crazy Rainbow Star says, not the a-hole. Dogs don't have names for themselves, they have names for us. And if Honey works better than Peanut, then that's her name. Both are super cute dog names though. Asking for My Brain says, not the a-hole. If she replies to Honey, then that's her name. My dog's name was Howl before I got him and I changed it to Ollie and he instantly took to it. Also, it's your freaking dog now. Your friend needs to chill. Gray Olsen says, not the a-hole. If the dog responds to it, it works. It might take a while for your friend to not use Peanut, but you changed the dog's name. So now that dog is Honey. I agree with all of the commenters here. Like the first one says, the dog's name is for us. Also, what's up with your friend being offended or finds it offensive that you changed the dog's name? It's not offensive to anyone. It's your dog. Your friend is totally out of line, and if they think they have some sort of influence because they hooked you up to get the dog, then they're super wrong. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see what happened. So I posted this multiple months ago when I was really scared about my situation. I had rescued, privately, a lab mix who would not come or listen to her name she had whatsoever, Peanut. And so I had tried the name Honey, which she picked up on and has now loved. Everyone commenting last time really helped me realize that changing a dog's name that is now yours is completely your decision. My friend that had got me Peanut from her in-laws got mad at me for changing her name. And well, she shortly after stopped being friends with me because of another issue. But I don't need bad friends, although I am thankful for Honey. Honey has since made strides in training. Honey has definitely bonded with me and she is no longer scared. She has also gained so much confidence. I am willing to answer any questions about this. Thank you so much to everyone who helped when I posted the last time. Well, all I've got to say here is, awesome OP, you kept Honey, you got rid of a bad friend, and you're moving forward. That's always a good thing. All the best for this 2021 for you and Honey. This one's from user Close Cousins. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that I think it's wrong to make our 13-year-old hang out with her same-aged cousin? My wife has 2 sisters and is close to both. Their mom died when they were young, so they bonded over the loss and became very close. We have 2 kids, Chris, 16 male, and Kaylee, 13 female. My wife's older sister also has 2 kids, Owen, 17 male, and Emma, 16 female. They live about 5 minutes from us and our kids attend the same school. They have always hung out as a group of 3. My Chris and their Emma are a week apart in age and Owen is only a little over a year older, so they grew up together and used to call themselves triplets. They are all still quite close. My wife's younger sister has a daughter, Gia, who is 3 months older than mine. The younger sister always made comments when our girls were babies about how she can't wait until they are the ages of the big kids, meaning Chris, Owen, and Emma, because they'll be just as close. The problem is that Kaylee doesn't like hanging out with Gia, and it's becoming more obvious as they get older that they are 2 different people. Kaylee likes soccer and video games. Gia isn't allowed to play video games and isn't interested in sports. Kaylee is a social butterfly and Gia is a homebody. All of this was manageable, but Gia also has some more immature interests. She still enjoys playing with dolls and engages in pretend play. For example, when Kaylee goes over to their house to sleep over, she says Gia likes playing school or mommies. Playing school means they set up all the stuffed animals and pretend to teach them. Mommies is when they play with the baby dolls and pretend to be mommies. I have nothing against pretend play and think it's nice that Gia doesn't feel pressured to grow up too fast, but it's clear that Kaylee and her are on different wavelengths. Now that things are opening back up, Gia's mom said she can't wait to have Kaylee over. Kaylee said she doesn't want to sleep over at Gia's. She said she'll still interact with Gia at family events, but doesn't want to sleep over there anymore or go over to play. This upset my wife a lot. She said Kaylee doesn't get a say. Later that night, I told my wife I sided with Kaylee. I don't think she should be forced to hang out with Gia. My wife flipped and said that I am an only child, so I will never understand her family values and how this isn't up for discussion. I told her that wasn't fair. Kaylee should get a say, and she said that you don't get a say when it comes to family. We argued for a while before I told her that we would be having this discussion later, and she didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. Was I the a-hole? I haven't brought it up again, but plan to unless I am totally in the wrong. The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. 87 North says, not the a-hole. Your wife is controlling. Kaylee is 13 and old enough to realize what interests her. They may become friends as they get older, but forcing it is awkward and will never work. Puppy Jito says, not the a-hole. As it stands now, your daughter doesn't mind hanging out with her cousin at family events. If your wife keeps forcing her to hang out with her outside of that, she will start to resent her, and it may push her to be cold or mean towards her cousin. Your wife isn't doing anyone any favors here. Anchovy Mac and Cheese says, not the a-hole. It's a little ironic that your wife has such stout family-first ideas, but then doesn't even listen to her own daughter. You sound like a good dad. Opie's edit. I thought I made this clear, but we'll say it again because of the comments I am getting. Kaylee is not interested in hanging out with Gia other than for full family events. For example, We normally have dinner with my wife's sisters and dad every Sunday. Kaylee is fine hanging out with Gia then, but doesn't want to beyond that. Additional information. Other than her immature interests, Gia is a normal 13-year-old girl. Edit. Gia does cry when she doesn't get her way, and that's another reason Kaylee is no longer enjoying playing with her cousin. I wouldn't say it's tantrum behavior. Her mom and my wife think it's just hormones and normal, but she locks herself in the bathroom until she pulls herself together. I should have mentioned that earlier, but my wife and her sisters think it's normal teen girl stuff. Edit. Sorry for so many edits, just trying to paint a clearer picture. Last summer, Gia and Kaylee hung out about 4 to 5 days a week. Now, this was normal for Chris, Emma, and Owen when they were 12 or 13. I would say they were over more often than that and had sleepovers most nights. They have a lot of the same friends since they go to the same school and play some of the same sports. My wife and younger sister are trying to recreate this with Kaylee and Gia, but Kaylee doesn't want it. Again, she is okay with the weekly dinners, but doesn't want the one-on-one playdates and sleepovers with Gia. I am getting a lot of heat over the word immature. All I meant by that is Kaylee, who stopped playing mommies a long time ago, sees it as immature. If Kaylee suggests another game, then Gia cries and locks herself in the bathroom. To me, that is childlike behavior, but I do not think any less of Gia because of it. I do not dislike her. I love her like she is my own blood. I am very sorry for hurting people with the use of the word immature. OP, you are most definitely not the a-hole. You're standing up for your daughter, which is what a parent should do. You don't force friendship between kids, because it's always gonna blow up in your face. Kids aren't political, so they're not gonna pretend they like somebody to gain some favors or anything like that. They're simply just not gonna like that person and avoid them. To be honest, I understand your daughter Kaylee. I wouldn't want to play with somebody who doesn't take ideas, and when they don't like an idea, they lock themselves in the bathroom. That's poor behavior right there. And that's something that her parents should address and not just leave it to, oh, she'll grow out of it. Because she won't. Eventually, those traits evolve to other manipulation tactics as people grow up. But anyways, that's just my opinion. So now, let's move on to the update to see what happened. I talked to my wife about everything, and she agreed she overreacted. She said that after her mom died, she felt like it was her job to hold the family together. She is the middle child, so she felt like she was the link between her two sisters. Their dad stressed to them how much they needed to stick together, and that is where the weekly family dinners started. It was a way to bring everyone together. When my wife got pregnant with our son Chris, at the same time her older sister got pregnant with her daughter Emma, my wife said it felt like fate, especially since her older sister's son Owen would only be a little more than a year older than both kids. My wife said watching all three of them bond like they did made her proud because she knew it is what her mom would want. Even now the kids are close. My son slept over their house last night. They play some school sports together, have classes together, share some friends, and sit at the same lunch table. When we found out we were having Kaylee only a few months after Gia was born, my wife and her sister imagined the girls growing up together the same way the older three did. For a while they did, but now that they are growing apart, it has been hard on both my wife and her younger sister. When the older three were in middle school, they hung out every day in the summer, but that was by choice and usually with a larger common friend group. I explained to my wife that this is different because we would be forcing Kaylee to miss out on time with her friends to spend with her cousin multiple times a week, even though they have virtually nothing in common. My wife apologized to Kaylee and talked to her sister about giving the girls some time apart. We will still see them once a week for Sunday dinners, but we aren't going to force it. My wife's sister was upset because Kaylee is Gia's only friend, but said she will just have to spend more time with Gia to make her feel special. My wife and I feel bad, but we want to make sure our daughter knows that she has the right to say no and have that be respected if she isn't comfortable with a situation, even when it's family. OP, I'm very glad that your wife came around and you guys are doing the right thing. If they have nothing in common, then you can't force them to be together. And this weird guilt trip that the younger sister is pulling is wrong in all accounts, especially because it leaves in evidence that Gia doesn't have any other friends because probably other kids aren't interested in hanging out with her either. Which of course, I don't think is Gia's fault, I think it's the mom's fault, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and speculate that the way she's making Gia feel special is that Gia always has to get her way or else frustration appears and she doesn't know how to deal with it. Hence, her reaction of locking herself in the bathroom when someone proposes something that she doesn't want to do. I feel like that little girl is gonna have a tough time going through life unless her mom snaps out of it and actually teaches her some tolerance to frustration. To quote the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want. But anyways, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? And that's it for this video. If you'd like, here are other videos from my channel that you would enjoy. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.